Welcome back to the show, my friends. I am your host, Eric Szilagyi. If you've had an uncomfortable experience and you'd like to have it shared here on the show, please get a hold of me at contact.uncomfortable@gmail.com. The world wants to hear your cryptid and UFO experiences, so reach out to me and let's get yours on the next episode of Uncomfortable. If you haven't yet, make sure to like us on Facebook and Instagram, both at Uncomfortable Podcast 65. And once you get a chance to listen to an episode or two, please make sure to leave us a 5-star rating and review wherever you can. That alone is the most important thing you can do to help get this show out in front of more people. And with more people listening, you guessed it, more great stories coming your way. If video is more your thing, then make sure you subscribe to Uncomfortable Podcast on YouTube, where you can get the video version of most shows. If that's where you listen to us, please make sure to click like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you're notified with each and every new release. Take a minute to check out the Uncomfortable link tree. It's the single best place that you can find anything and everything uncomfortable all in one spot. The link for that is in the notes below. Uncomfortable Studios and Homestead are still in the process of getting moved around and settled in. We've got a couple of great episodes to start off the next week, but for now, please enjoy these previously unreleased series of shorts. We will be back with brand new shows this coming Friday, so just bear with us a little bit longer. Welcome back, everyone, to another edition of A Little Uncomfortable. Today I'm going to delve into the fascinating mystery surrounding the Betz mystery sphere, a peculiar metallic object that captured the world's attention back in 1974. On March 26th, 1974, 3 members of the Betz family, parents Jerry and Antoine, and their oldest son Terry, were walking in the woods around the property on Jacksonville's Fort George Island when their son found something that would thrust them into the public eye for years. A strange metallic sphere, about the size of a bowling ball, looking odd and strangely out of place. Terry, the then 21-year-old pre-med student, took the ball home. Measuring approximately 7.6 inches in diameter, this metallic object weighed in at a hefty 21.34 pounds. The sphere had a rough surface that was adorned with intriguing triangular-shaped symbols etched into its metallic body. The sphere's surface was composed of a magnetic ferrous material, identified later as magnetic stainless steel. So there's not much to say about this orb until one day shortly after they brought it home. Terry started strumming his guitar near it. According to the mom, Jerry, who later became the family's spokesperson on the sphere, something strange happened. The ball started humming back. Soon it started displaying other unusual properties. It would roll around seemingly of its own volition, with abrupt changes in direction and halting unexpectedly. It even vibrated and emitted a high-pitched sound that would send the dogs whining and covering their ears. Within 1 or 2 weeks of it making the headlines locally, it was a national story, and there were even international publications that picked up on it as well. In the spring of 1974, reporters from around the world were asking, what is this crazy thing down in Jacksonville, and where did it come from? The following months found the Betz family besieged by calls and requests for interviews on their unusual discovery. The sphere attracted substantial media attention, prompting experts and enthusiasts to conduct various tests and analyses. Magnetic and X-ray analyses were performed on the sphere, yet no definitive conclusions were ever reached regarding its composition or its origin. But it revealed the presence of 2 large magnetic hemispheres inside that seemingly changed position on their own, essentially changing the magnetic poles within the sphere. One analysis even showed that the sphere was transmitting some sort of radio signal. One of the most baffling aspects was its ability to attract metallic objects. The sphere exhibited strong magnetic properties. Witnesses confirmed that the sphere displayed autonomous movement, seemingly defying the laws of gravity. When tapped or rolled, the Betz mystery sphere emitted a strange low-frequency sound described as a magnetic whisper or mysterious vibration. Even the United States Navy took interest in the Betz mystery sphere, conducting their own investigation into its properties. Remarkably, the sphere resisted attempts to damage or dent it, hinting at an extraordinary level of durability. The Navy spokesperson stated that they had found only that the ball was stainless steel, was not their property, and that while they couldn't determine what it was for, it certainly was constructed here on Earth. The Navy spokesperson suggested that its tendency to move around was due to a small triangular chip in the surface that threw off its otherwise perfect balance, and the fact that the Betz's floors were uneven. But of course they'd say that. Even J. Allen Hynek, a scientific advisor and Reformed Blue Book debunker, and arguably the best-known ufologist at the time, inspected the sphere. Evidently, Hynek and his colleagues were unimpressed with the ball and agreed with the Navy that it was man-made. It did, however, tend to interfere with sonar signals when submerged in water, further adding to its mystique. Rumors persist that the U.S. Navy did not return the original sphere back to the Betz family. Instead, they provided them with an exact replica in place of it. Over time, public interest waned, and the sphere became less of a focal point for researchers, despite its enduring allure. Today, the original Betz mystery sphere's whereabouts remains unknown, with speculations that it resides in private hands. Nevertheless, replicas have been created, allowing researchers to continue their studies in an attempt to unravel the secrets of this sphere. What are some of the theories and speculations? Well, one popular theory surrounding the Betz mystery sphere proposed an extraterrestrial origin, suggesting it could be a relic from an advanced civilization. Alternatively, some speculate that the sphere might be space debris, possibly the remnants of a satellite or a rocket. Some researchers suggested a geological process, like concretion formed in a sedimentary rock, as a plausible explanation. An intriguing idea emerged that the Betz mystery sphere could be an ancient artifact holding unknown powers or carrying some kind of symbolic significance of an earlier culture. Conspiracy theories also surfaced, pointing towards government or military experiments, or possibly secret technologies as the source of the sphere's peculiarities. I find it interesting how similar the description of the Betz sphere and its behavior is to the reports of some of the UFOs filmed over the military zones in Mosul, Iraq, also reported by military aviators worldwide. You can find videos of that by searching the Mosul orb. It's evident that the enigma that is the Betz mystery sphere remains unsolved, leaving us with more questions than answers. The sphere's peculiar behavior, unique physical characteristics, and the numerous theories surrounding it continue to captivate the imaginations of researchers and enthusiasts. We may never truly understand the origins or the purpose of the Betz mystery sphere, solidifying its place as one of the most intriguing and enduring mysteries of our time. Thanks for joining me on this short jaunt through the fascinating history of the Betz mystery sphere. This realm of unexplained phenomena continually reminds us that our world is still filled with wonder and mysteries waiting to be unraveled. Until next time, stay uncomfortable, my friends. Welcome back to another episode of A Little Uncomfortable. This time around, we're going to dig into one of the more well-known cases of possible reincarnation, the story of young James Leninger. James was born in 1998 in Louisiana. From the age of 2, James started to display an intense interest in airplanes and had an unnatural extensive knowledge of World War II-era aircraft. He specifically identified himself as James Houston, Jr., a U.S. Navy pilot who flew a specific type of fighter plane called a Corsair. 2-year-old James recounted being shot down by the Japanese during the war. He described the details of his aerial combat, the attack on his plane, and the subsequent crash. He mentioned being shot in the engine and cockpit area. Eventually, this aligned with the historical account of James Houston Jr.'s plane being hit in the engine during combat. He also accurately disclosed the location of the incident in the Pacific. He provided intricate details about his supposed past life as a pilot. He mentioned the name Natoma when referring to an aircraft carrier. His parents later discovered that there was a reference to the USS Natoma Bay, an actual aircraft carrier that served in the Pacific during that time. James exhibited signs of emotional distress when he would talk about his past life memories. He had recurrent nightmares and would wake up shouting about being shot down by the Japanese. Little James, out of nowhere one day, unnerved his father by telling him, "I knew you would be a good daddy. That's why I picked you." His father responded in shock, "Well, where did you find us?" Then the little boy told him in Hawaii at the Pink Hotel on the beach. He went on to accurately describe his parents' 5th wedding anniversary trip. That trip was 5 weeks before Andrea, the mom, got pregnant. The couple reported James as saying that was when he decided he chose them to bring him back into the world. Now, James' parents, Andrea and Bruce Leninger, conducted their own extensive research to verify his claims. They discovered that there was a U.S. Navy pilot named James M. Houston, Jr., who indeed flew a Corsair and was in fact killed in action in 1945 near the USS Natoma Bay. The Leninger family found official military records, photographs, and documentation as corroborating evidence that supported many of James' claims. They also discovered a photograph showing James M. Houston, Jr. with his Corsair aircraft, which greatly resembled some of James' early drawings. After much effort, James' parents arranged meetings with surviving veterans who were confirmed as having served with James M. Houston, Jr. During these encounters, the young Leninger accurately identified former crew members and provided details about the aircraft carrier and specific events from his time there. Young James was able to accurately recall information such as the names of fellow pilots, aircraft carrier personnel. He was able to identify specific individuals and provide accurate details about their roles and experiences during the war. After meeting Houston's veteran brothers in arms, little James was disappointed and said, "I'm sad that everyone seemed so old," because he remembered them as dashing young pilots. Eventually, the family would even contact Houston's 84-year-old sister, Anne. After a lengthy interaction, she too was convinced he was the incarnation of her brother. Several researchers, including Dr. Tim Tucker from the University of Virginia, investigated the case. Tucker documented that the details and the verified information provided by James, suggesting that it could not easily be explained by normal means. These detailed memories and the accuracy of the information shared by James caught the attention of researchers and investigators. They believed that this knowledge of specific aircraft, events, and individuals could not be easily explained by normal means or coincidences alone. It's important to note that while the James Leninger case is considered by some to be compelling, it's also faced criticism and alternative explanations. Skeptics have argued that the information could have been acquired through other means, such as exposure to books or TV shows or conversation with family members. Others propose that it may involve a case of cryptomnesia, a psychological phenomenon where forgotten information is later remembered without recognizing its source. Skeptics suggest that James may have been exposed to World War II-related media, books, or conversations that influence his memories and his knowledge. Some skeptics propose that James may have created an elaborate fantasy world influenced by his interest in airplanes and war. They argue that his parents' encouragement and excitement about his supposed past life memories may have reinforced and solidified his beliefs. Is it possible that his parents may have misinterpreted or overinterpreted their son's statements? Is it possible that James acquired general knowledge about World War II and aviation through exposure to books, documentaries, or conversations without actually remembering a past life? Could this explain a 2-year-old's familiarity with specific aircraft types or historical events from 50 years before his birth? If you're interested, there is a book written by the parents called Soul Survivor, the reincarnation of a World War II fighter pilot. Regardless of the interpretation, cases like James Leninger's have sparked interest in the scientific study of past life memories and their potential connection to reincarnation. Ongoing research continues to explore these phenomena, aiming to provide more comprehensive understanding of consciousness, memory, and the nature of human experience. While there is criticism and alternative explanations, it continues to be cited as one of the most extensively studied examples of potential past life memories. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of A Little Uncomfortable. If you have suggestions on a topic or an event that you would like to see me cover, then please reach out to me at contact.uncomfortable@gmail.com. Until next time, stay uncomfortable, my friends. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of A Little Uncomfortable. This time around, I'll be pulling back the veil on the enigma that is the Kentucky meat shower, a mysterious event that left people perplexed and bewildered. During this, we'll explore the origins, some of the theories, and the significance of this particular phenomenon. Before we get to that, we need to understand that throughout history, mankind has witnessed a number of strange things raining down from our skies. In 1873 and again in 1882, the cities of Kansas City, Missouri, and Dubuque, Iowa, respectively, found their communities pounded by hundreds, if not thousands, of frogs during a series of heavy storms. More recently, in 2005, thousands of frogs pelted the streets and homes in a town in Serbia. Strangely enough, there were no significant bodies of water near any of these events. In 1947, in Marksville, Louisiana, largemouth bass, hickory shad, and several varieties of sunfish ranging in size from 2 to 9 inches rained down on this rural community in such amounts that there was at least one fish per square yard. In 2010, thousands of perch fell on a small town in the Australian outback over 2 consecutive days. Now, with a little bit of common sense and critical thinking, it's not hard to imagine that potentially a tornado or a water spout could have pulled these creatures from their habitats and deposited them quite abruptly, miles and miles from their origin. In 2013, residents in Brazil found their town blanketed by a very specific spider. Scientific name, Anolosimus eximus. Colonies of these spiders can number in the tens of thousands, and they take up residence in a web that can be as large as 65 feet high. These webs will stretch from the ground to the tops of tree canopies and even buildings. The spiders congregate in these webs and await the trapping of their next meal. Possible explanations for this may be as simple as high winds during a storm blowing the webs off their anchor points and carrying them way into the air, at which point, becoming saturated with rainfall, it's forced back to the ground randomly to the earth. In 2011, in Little Rock, Arkansas, over 5,000 red-winged blackbirds were found to have fallen to the ground on New Year's Eve. Preliminary indications were that the vast majority of the birds were already dead before they hit the ground. They also showed signs of heavy trauma. A strange sight to behold, I'm sure, but given the fact that the birds were found on New Year's Day, may hold the clue to their demise. It's possible that the flock of birds may have inadvertently flown into the path of a large fireworks display. But this is where things start to get a little weird. In 2001, along a coastal state in southern India, people's clothing, buildings, and literally anything that was outside was turned to blood red as the red rains fell off and on over a 2-month period. Now, several witnesses reported a loud boom and a bright flash of light shortly before the rains first fell. Initially, it was suspected that a possible meteorite had exploded entering Earth's atmosphere and that the particulate remnants of that hung in the clouds until the rain washed it to the ground. Some thought it was possibly sand from neighboring Arabia carried by high winds into the atmosphere, and once weighed down with moisture, it fell to the earth. Later studies showed that the red particles were not grains of sand, but a ruby-colored fleck that appeared to contain biological cells. Some thought it was possibly a microscopic bug or bacteria. One of the more unique theories was that this could have possibly been proof of the theory of panspermia, that being the theory that life can be seeded on various worlds randomly from outer space via some method of transport such as a meteorite or comet or possibly even a extraterrestrial craft. This brings us to one of the strangest events of all. On March 3rd, 1876, in Bath County, Kentucky, an inexplicable event unfolded. Large chunks of red meat seemingly poured down from the sky. This bizarre incident became known as the Kentucky Meat Shower. Multiple witnesses, including Mr. and Mrs. Harrison, had reported the unusual phenomenon, leading to widespread curiosity. Some 5 minutes south in East Olympia Springs, Kentucky, Mrs. Allen Crouch was outside on her front porch making soap when she saw large flakes of meat begin to drift down from the skies above. She reported that it looked like beef. She also indicated that the sky was clear and there was no rain or storms in the area, and that the pieces of meat were nearly 2 inches square. Her husband was convinced that it was a significant sign from God. This event took place over a course of nearly an hour and covered an area 50 yards wide and nearly 100 yards long. She indicated that 2 men had stopped by later that day and asked if they could take samples of the pieces. Apparently, the 2 men determined that there was no sign of rot or decay, and it looked relatively fresh, so they cooked it, and they actually tried samples of the meat. They reported comparing it to that of mutton or venison. Now, back at the time, some of the samples were taken and analyzed. In a published article, one searcher determined it was found that the substance was Gnostic, meaning that it had evidence of a bluish-green freshwater algae found to become very gelatinous when mixed with water. They assumed that this Gnostic must have swollen in size from the rain when it fell to the earth. The only problem with that theory is that Mrs. Crouch had indicated that there was no rain in that area that day. Additional analysis was done, and it was later found that the meat was a mix of cartilage, muscular, and lung tissue. The Kentucky Meat Shower incited various theories attempting to explain this extraordinary occurrence. The following are some of those theories. One is the vulture theory that was put forth back in 1876. According to this theory, the strange tissue may have been the regurgitated collective stomach contents of a large flock of vultures. Now, as strange as that sounds, one of the 2 species of vulture in Kentucky does have the reputation of projectile vomiting as a defense mechanism when frightened. It also can do this if it needs to lighten itself for immediate flight. However, this theory fails to explain why the meat was relatively fresh and not decayed, or shining any signs of digestion. Then again, in 2012, Dr. Joel Martin mirrored the notion that tornadoes and waterspouts might carry small animals, such as frogs or fish, into the air and deposit them over wide areas. In 1975, Dr. Roy Mackle investigated several instances of raining flesh and proposed that those occurrences could have been linked to some kind of atmospheric phenomenon, such as wind patterns or atmospheric dust, none of which really addressed the actual presence of any fleshy substance, though. In 2019, Dr. David Hughes postulated that birds or possibly bats carrying small animal feces contaminated with meat fragments could inadvertently have scattered them through the air. This was dubbed the wandering meat showers to possibly explain some of the cases. Throughout history, other instances of meat showers have been reported worldwide. In Olympia, Washington, in 2018, chunks of raw meat fell from the sky, covering several homes and cars. No known explanation for this event has ever been tendered and has left residents baffled. In 2016, in India, residents witnessed chunks of meat falling from the sky during a rain shower. Speculations there ranged from discarded meat from a passing airplane to vultures dropping their prey. In England, a similar incident occurred back in 1841 where witnesses described rain mixed with a flesh-like substance, leading to widespread confusion and panic. Reports of fish, meat, frogs, birds, and blood of all things have been reported throughout the world. The Kentucky meat shower and similar occurrences continue to mystify us, challenging our understanding of the natural world. Despite numerous theories, a definitive explanation has never found the light of day. I hope you've enjoyed this quick retrospect on this uniquely disturbing phenomenon. I hope it's piqued your curiosity and inspires you to further investigate these perplexing events. There's a ton of information out there on these unique cases. Hello, and welcome. This is a little uncomfortable. Tonight I wanted to take an opportunity to talk to you about an event that has captured my imagination for years. Since the very first article I read about it, I began to delve into finding as much information as I could about this event, whether it be in documentaries, articles, or small mentions in other shows. What am I talking about tonight? I'm talking about the Dyatlov Pass incident. The Dyatlov Pass incident occurred in 1959. A group of 9 experienced hikers went missing in the Ural Mountains of Russia. Their tent was found, supposedly ripped from the inside, and their bodies were discovered scattered around the area, some partially clothed, and others with injuries that suggest that they had fled the tent in panic. The cause of their deaths remain unknown, but the theories include an avalanche, a possible military weapons test, or an attack by a local indigenous tribe. There's even a possible encounter with an extraterrestrial or cryptid life form. Despite numerous investigations, the incident remains one of the most intriguing unsolved mysteries of the 20th century. This sad and fascinating account remains a mystery and has led to numerous conspiracy theories and speculation. Some researchers have suggested that the hikers may have been exposed to infrasound, which is a sound wave that is below the range of human hearing. Infrasound can cause feelings of anxiety, unease, confusion, and even panic and nausea in some people. Infrasound can be produced naturally in the Ural Mountains of Russia simply by the winds in the area passing over the low-lying icy landscape. This weather phenomenon is known as the Karaman vortex. It could have produced enough infrasound over a prolonged period of several hours that affected the hikers' cognitive abilities and caused mass confusion. It's important to note that while infrasound can have a physiological and psychological impact on humans, it is not known to cause the type of injuries and trauma that were observed in the bodies of the Dyatlov Pass hikers. While infrasound may play a role in the incident, it is unlikely to be the sole cause of the hikers' deaths. It is also possible that a military experiment could have produced enough infrasound in the area, although there's no real evidence to support this theory. Infrasound can also be produced by a variety of natural phenomena, such as avalanches and earthquakes. The strange details of the surrounding condition of the bodies recovered from the Dyatlov Pass incident have led to many theories and speculation. But there are a few best guesses as to what may have happened. The discovery that some of the hikers were missing key components to their body. One was missing their eyes, another their tongue, has been the subject of much speculation. However, it's likely that these injuries were caused by scavenging animals such as ravens or foxes after the bodies had been exposed to the elements for several weeks. Some of the hikers' clothing was found to be slightly radioactive, but the levels were not high enough to cause harm. It is speculated that the radioactivity was a result of the hikers being near a nuclear test site. This theory has not been confirmed, but there was an active Soviet military base where the incident took place. The region where the incident took place was a restricted area at the time, and the Soviet military was known for conducting tests in the area. Additionally, some of the hikers' photos from the trip show what appears to be military vehicles and personnel in the background. However, there is no concrete evidence to support this theory, and the military has denied any involvement in this incident. Several had unexplained injuries, such as a fractured skull, broken ribs, among others. That could not be explained by hypothermia or scavenging animals. It is possible that these injuries were caused by falls or collisions during the panic. Several had unexplained injuries, such as a fractured skull, broken ribs, among other things. It is possible that these injuries were caused by falls or collisions during the panic of an avalanche, while trying to escape the tent, or while attempting to find shelter in the dark and snowy conditions. The details surrounding the condition of the bodies may be intriguing. They do not provide a clear, definitive answer as to what caused the hikers' deaths. The most widely accepted theory continues to be that they died from hypothermia after getting caught in the severe snowstorm. The details surrounding the conditions of the body may be intriguing, but they do not provide a clear, definitive answer as to what caused the hikers' deaths. The most widely accepted theory continues to be that they died from hypothermia after getting caught in a severe snowstorm. Paradoxical undressing is a theory that proposes the hikers experienced a sudden and extreme drop in body temperature due to hypothermia, causing them to feel as if they were burning up. As a result, they would have removed their clothing, even though doing so would have accelerated their deaths from exposure. There are several more obscure theories surrounding the Dyatlov Pass incident, including alien abductions or extraterrestrial interaction. Some theories have suggested that the hikers were abducted by extraterrestrial beings and that their deaths were the result of some sort of alien experiment. Now, there were photos found on one of the hikers' cameras that did appear to show a bright, distorted light in the nighttime sky. Some believe that the hikers may have been attacked by a mysterious creature such as the Yeti or another unknown cryptid. There are no known confirmed sightings of the Yeti or the Russian Almasty in or around the Ural Mountains of Russia, but legends and folklore of the creature are present in many of the cultures throughout the area, and that may support the existence of the elusive creature in that area. Again, there was a photograph taken from camera of one of the hikers that did show a nondescript humanoid form some distance away stepping out from the tree line. In fairness, the lack of detail in the photograph can only lead to more sensationalized speculation. A popular stance is that the Soviet government was involved to some extent in the incident and that they have covered up what really happened to the hikers. It's important to note that these theories lack concrete evidence and are largely speculative. The cause of the Dyatlov Pass incident remains a mystery, and it's likely that we may never know exactly what happened to the 9 ill-fated hikers. The most widely accepted theory for the deaths of the hikers involved in the Dyatlov Pass incident is they died from hypothermia after getting caught in a severe snowstorm. It is believed that the hikers set up camp on the slope of the mountain and in the middle of the night were awoken by a sudden and intense snowstorm or low-angle avalanche. They panicked, cut their way out of their tent to escape, leaving behind all their warm clothing and gear. In the chaos, some of them suffered injuries, possibly from falling down the slope or colliding with rocks or trees in their attempt to escape. Ultimately, they attempted to find their way back to the original campsite or seek suitable shelter. They succumbed to the extreme cold and died from hypothermia. While this theory does not account for all of the strange details of the case, such as the radioactivity found on the clothing, and that some of the hikers were missing body parts, it remains the most logical explanation based on the available information from the Soviet authorities at the time. Hopefully I've sparked some interest in this subject for you, and if it is something that you want to learn more about, there is a plethora of articles, videos, and information out there to help you dig one more rabbit hole for yourselves. Thank you for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed this edition of A Little Uncomfortable. Good night.